Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Savings Bank live webinar on protecting your parents from elder scams. But this is not just about helping your parents, as anyone can be a victim of a scam. My name is Karen Benedetti, Vice President of Marketing at the bank, and I will help facilitate today's webinar. A bit of housekeeping. All microphones are muted during this webinar. Please type any questions into the question and answer box at any time as we go through the webinar. Please look for the icon with the question mark. We will stop at several points today to answer questions you have submitted up to that point. A video recording of today's webinar will be available tomorrow on the homepage of our website at www.tsbawake24.com. And we will email out the recording to all participants today. We will also email you a copy of the presentation, as you see will be loaded with resources. Our presenter today is Cheryl Cannon, Training Officer at the Savings Bank. Prior to joining the Savings Bank, Cheryl served as the statewide director of the Massachusetts Money Management Program under the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, overseeing a network of 25 program coordinators delivering in-house money management assistance to the elderly. In that role, Cheryl developed and implemented policies and procedures to ensure integrity of the program, positive outcomes, and client satisfaction, as well as leveraging relationships with partnering agencies. Cheryl overhauled the statewide system to ensure funds were used in clients' best interest while preventing misappropriation. Cheryl has served in the leadership capacity as a financial abuse specialist team advisory council member in the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, as a senior Medicare Patrol Advisory Board member, and she served on Treasurer Goldberg's Financial Literacy Task Force. Cheryl was also a presenter at the Massachusetts Council of Aging Conference and Aging and Disability Resource Consortia of the North Shore Conference. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from Salem State University. In her current position at the bank, Cheryl trains employees on a wide range of critical topics, including how to watch for scams to help protect our customers. Cheryl?
Thank you, Karen. And I would like to thank everyone who has joined the webinar today. As Karen mentioned, for many years, I worked with the elder population and witnessed the financial consequences of falling victim to a scam. So I'm excited to be here today to talk about this topic. Before we begin, I want to mention that June is Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And just being aware that scams exist is a key factor in preventing them. So in joining today's webinar, you have taken an important step in protecting yourself and your loved ones. We have a lot of material to cover today in a short time, so let's get started. Throughout this webinar, you'll hear me use many terms. As I just mentioned, June is Elder Abuse Awareness Month, and the title of today's webinar mentions elder scams. Elder abuse is an umbrella term that financial exploitation falls under, and elder fraud is a type of financial exploitation. Today, we're talking about scams, which by definition is a dishonest scheme or a fraud. A scam can be perpetrated against a person of any age, but today we will focus on scams that target elders. So even though anyone can potentially fall victim to a scam, the elder population is hardest hit. Scammers purposely target elders. The many reasons include elders are more likely to have a nest egg. They are raised to be polite and, more importantly, trusting. Some elders are socially isolated, while others may have cognitive impairment or memory issues. All or one of these factors make elders more vulnerable. Financial exploitation is sometimes coined as the crime of the century. I want to share with you some statistics to illustrate how serious the problem is. 1 in 10 adults will fall victim to a scam each year, with an average loss of $34,000. The estimated annual loss is at least $36 billion. Now, some experts say that the estimated annual loss of financial exploitation is low because they believe that many cases of elder fraud are actually unreported. 3 reasons why an elder may not report being victim of a scam are feelings of shame, fear of loss of independence, and they simply are unsure on how to report the incident. For those of you who are joining the webinar in hopes to help a parent or elder relative, it is important to keep these factors in mind. I urge you to start a conversation about their finances and scams now, because if they do fall victim to a scam, they may not tell you about it, or they may not even report it. Okay, so let's go on and talk about scams. There's no shortage of types of scams out there. Now, once word of scam spread, the scammers will just come up with a new one. As a reminder, everyone attending today's webinar will receive a copy of this presentation. So even though there are many types of scams on the next few slides, for the sake of keeping on track time-wise, I'm going to highlight the most prevalent ones. Grandparent scam. So this is when a scammer calls an elder and pretends to be their grandchild or someone trying to help their grandchild. They say they're in trouble and need money, and of course, please do not tell anyone. Here at the savings bank, we had a customer who was contacted by someone calling to say her granddaughter needed money for bail. Another local bank also reported a case of this scam as well. So this scam is very active in our community today. In these cases, if the elder was simply aware that this type of scam existed, they would have been more prepared to protect themselves. A simple phone call to their grandchild or to the grandchild's parent would have revealed that the grandchild was not in trouble or in jail, and this was a scam. Another scam that we hear of often is the fake check scam. What this scam boils down to is the scammer presents you with a check saying it's for lottery winnings. Sorry, I just went a little bit too far. It's for lottery winnings or a mystery shopper or even some type of payment. You deposit the check and then you ask to wire the taxes for the lottery, buy gift cards as a mystery shopper, or send back the monies that were overpaid. The scammer receives the wired funds or gift cards, but the check they gave you is fake and it's returned unpaid. When a check is returned to the bank, the funds that were credited to your account are withdrawn. So you essentially used your own funds to wire the taxes or purchase the gift cards. Other types of scams happen online. And lately, we're seeing more and more elders on social media, which opens them up to a whole new realm of scams. The romance scam involves targeting elders online. The scammer will befriend the elder, and eventually they will ask the elder to send them money with the promise that they will come visit. They say things like, if you send me money to fix my car, I can come visit you, or I would love to come visit you, but I can't afford the airfare. The requests continue, but there is never a visit. Now, when I was working in elder services, we actually had a client who was involved in an online romance. The elder was told this was a scam, but she kept on sending money. Deep down, she knew it was a scam, but was lonely, and the scammer was the one person who would call on a regular basis. And this is exactly what the scammers are counting on. So before we continue to the next section, Karen, are there any questions so far?
Yes, Cheryl, we have one question, which I will read now. The person wrote, I was selling an item online and was approached by someone who claimed to be relocating to this area. They said they would pay $50 more if I could hold the item. It sounded off, but I can't see or really didn't know how this could be a scam.
Actually, this would fall into the fake check type of scam. So this is when a scammer will send you a check for the item and then maybe contact you later to say they've changed their mind, or if they said that they were relocating, that they are no longer relocating. And then they'll ask you to wire the funds back. Sometimes the check is much more than the item that you're selling, and the scammer asks you to pay a mover that they hired to pick up the item. Either way, in the end, the check is fake and it will be returned to the bank. The bank will then debit your account for the amount of the return check, and the money that you sent back to the scammer or paid the mover was actually your own funds.
Thank you, Cheryl. There were no more questions at this time, but we'll keep watching. And please, anyone type in any questions that are specific to a situation or general, and Cheryl will address them.
Thank you, Karen. So let's move on to protect yourself. We've all heard of the saying, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. This goes for scams as well. Really, how can you win the Nigerian lottery if you never bought a ticket? So we can move on to protect yourself. In order to avoid a scam, we first need to know how to spot a scam. So here are a few common characteristics of a scam. Scammers pretend to be from an organization that you know. They will say there is a problem or a prize. They'll pressure you to act immediately. And many times they will be very specific on how to pay. Now, I bet that everyone on this webinar has come across a phishing email. This is an email that's supposedly from a legitimate company. However, when you click on a link within the email, you're actually directed to the scammer's website, and you are prompted to enter personal information. So if you come across an email that just doesn't seem right, you can use this slide as a guide to determine if it's legitimate. Now we can talk about some things that you can proactively do to protect yourself. I've highlighted my top 3 on this slide. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, just being aware that scams exist is a key factor in preventing them. You should always resist the pressure to act quickly, and if in doubt, stop and talk to someone you trust. And the last item on this list is do not share personal information. Now, sometimes a scammer does not ask for money directly, but instead is fishing for information. So what do you do if you gave out personal information and then afterwards you feel that it just wasn't legitimate? So whether it's your account, credit card, or social security number, there are things that you can do, but first and foremost, you need to act quickly. So if you gave out your bank account number, you can contact the bank. If you gave out a credit card number, you can call the bank or the company that issued the card. And if you gave out your social security number, you can contact the 3 credit reporting agencies to put a freeze on your account. So even with preventive measures and awareness of scams, you or a loved one may be the victim of a scam. Here are some signs that may indicate someone is a victim of financial exploitation. The signs can be put into 3 categories: increased or changes in withdrawal activity, involvement of a third party, and elder confusion or concern about their finances. Now on this slide, I use the term financial exploitation instead of scam, just to illustrate that even though you may see these signs, it's not always because of a scam. Unfortunately, many instances of elder fraud are at the hands of people the elder knows. So these signs can be the result of a scam or financial exploitation. On this next slide, I just wanted to share with you an idea about time that one of a protective service worker shared with me when I was working with Elder Services. So there are two stages to a scam or financial exploitation: before and after. Now, before the scam happens, the scammer will pressure you to act quickly so that you don't have time to think. So time is on your side. The more time that you take to think about the deal or the situation, the less likely you will fall for the scam. However, once a scam or financial exploitation begins, time is on the side of the scammer, especially in cases where it's ongoing, such as the instance of the romance scam that I shared earlier. So it's critical to get help immediately to stop the flow of funds from the elder's account and to preserve their nest egg. Now, Karen, before we move on to resources, I just want to check in again to see if we have any questions.
Yes, we have several questions. The first one is, do you have brochures that we could distribute to our residents at Hart Hills Heights in Wakefield? We are constantly being barraged with scams, and we had one incident lose $10,000 to a grandparent scam. I hope that was okay that I read it. I should have asked that. But there are folks that work with seniors that would like to make sure that we can give them material so they can help better prepare them.
Actually, we will cover that in resources. There are some websites that offer free materials. We at the bank don't actually have a brochure on scams, but there are plenty out there.
Okay, so Cheryl will point those out specifically when we get to them, so the person who put that in can know where to access it. The next question is, if a scammer is seeking gift card compensation, but doesn't seek personal information, are you safe from identity theft? So here's where scams and identity theft cross. So I'll read it again. If a scammer is seeking gift card compensation, but doesn't seek personal information, are you safe from identity theft?
In that case, I would say yes. Identity theft and scams, some scams are looking for information so that they can steal your identity. Other scams are looking just to get money. So if you're not disclosing any information, then there's no threat of identity theft. However, if somebody's asking you to pay for something with gift cards, then that is most likely a scam.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. And a final question we have at this point is, if the bank knows about these scams, what are they doing to protect my money or my parents' money?
Okay, that's a great question. So first of all, as Karen mentioned, I'm the training officer. So first of all, the bank does training. Our frontline employees are trained periodically. And through this webinar, we're educating our customers. In addition to that, the bank has identified some high-risk transactions, and we've put in protocols in place to help protect our customers within those transactions.
So at the end of this, Cheryl, we'll stop one more time as we wrap up to see if there's additional questions, but there's none other at this time.
Okay, thank you. So our last section covers resources. Now, if you or a loved one is the victim of a scam, the first thing you should do is call your local law enforcement. Now, I talked about the difference between financial exploitation and scams a little bit. So if you do suspect a case of financial exploitation, you can report it on the Elder Financial Abuse Hotline or use the link provided to report it online. And a great resource to all elders in Massachusetts is the Money Management Program. This is the program that I oversaw prior to joining the bank. So the program is offered through the nonprofit ASAP network, and a lot of people refer to the ASAP network as Elder Services. So what they do is they have trained and supervised volunteers that are matched with an elder in the program, and they provide assistance in paying bills and balancing the elder's checkbook. The greatest part of this partnership is that the volunteer can also help the elder to avoid scams or a case of financial exploitation. And if they do see any signs of financial exploitation, then they can alert someone in the agency to look further into it. So if you have an elder parent that lives far enough away from you that you can't help them on a regular basis with their finances, this is a great resource for you. Now, I listed Mystic Valley Elder Services, Greater Lynn Senior Services, and Merrimack Valley Elder Services, because those are the 3 agencies that serve the towns that we have branches in. But just below that is Mass Home Care. And if your parent or relative doesn't live in one of those towns, you can use that resource to look up the agency that serves that town. Now, I just also wanted to point out, you'll see that there are some text that is in green with an underline. Now, these are all hyperlinks, and they will go right to the website, Mystic Valley Elder Services website, Mass Home Care website, or the Elder Financial Abuse Hotline website. Now, the next page is a list of resources, and this goes back to that question, Karen, that was asked earlier about brochures. And I do believe it's the Federal Trade Commission that offers free brochures, and also the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You can order brochures, and they also offer a PDF for to print out. And I know actually the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau actually has placemats. So for that situation where we have the question for for elders and people working in a home with elders, you can order placemats, just paper placemats, and they have a lot of information about scams. And again, these are hyperlinks. If you just, when you get the presentation, you can just click on the hyperlink and it will bring you right to the website. And lastly, I included the credit bureau contacts in case of identity theft, or if you give out personal information, you can have the information to contact the credit bureaus right here. Okay, so I just want to again thank everyone for joining this webinar today. I hope you found the information that we covered helpful. And Karen, are there any last questions?
Yes, just one person who was unable to come from the beginning asked if they could get the slides. So as a reminder, a recording of today's webinar will be sent to you tomorrow, and we'll also have it posted on our website. In addition, we'll send you a full copy of the slides. And as Cheryl said, you can click right on to get all the supporting documents. I wanted to ask, just look one more time if there's any questions, and there are none other. So since that ends our questions for today, we'll just remind you that we send our customers information on upcoming webinars. We're doing several webinars a quarter. We send them out through chamber newsletters. Any webinar we send to a customer, webinar invitation, they are welcome to send along to family and friends. This is for anyone who's interested in any of our topics. So again, let me now switch to Cheryl, and thank you so much for taking us through this important and timely topic. And we hope that you all watching today has learned not only about protecting your parents, but also yourself from scams. If you have any further questions, you can email marketing, which you see on the slide that's on the screen, marketing@thesavingsbankawake24.com. And again, we thank you all for joining us today. Have a wonderful afternoon. And goodbye, and we're giving you back 5 minutes in your busy schedule. Again, enjoy the wonderful day today. Bye-bye.